Well, another little project I've got is this. I picked up second hand. Nice and cheap, thankfully. Nice little Sanyo compact boombox. This one's kind of cool. It's got a nice cubic sort of shape, square on the ends. Got an extra 2 speakers in the top. Going a little bit rusty there, but that's easily painted again. A big tuning knob on the end there. Nothing on the other end. And I thought, oh, it's quite a nice solid feeling little unit. But there's a few issues with it, which just as well it was cheap. And one of them is, the reason it feels solid is we've got a bunch of rotten batteries in there. Just hoping they haven't done too much damage to it. Another issue is it's probably been in someone's shed, so the old potter wasps have been busy filling in the screw holes. So they're probably full of stinking dead spiders. Luckily they're not too deep. I once had like, I think, an 80cm TV that was a hell of a job trying to get the back off it, because I think most of the screws have been filled up with this dirt and full of stinking dead spiders. And the problem is it fills in the screw heads quite often with the clay, and you can have real trouble getting them out. They rust, and trying to get this dirt out of the screw heads to get a decent grip on a screwdriver in there. At least these should be fairly short screws in a smaller unit. They're not like the big screws nice and deep in the plastic on a TV. Now, I can't remember, I did plug this in and have a quick look at it, but I think the radio works as you'd expect, and I think one tape deck actually might have worked to some degree. At least it's got the power cord, because this is one of these non-figure 8 power cords. That alone was worth what I paid for the thing, because they're so hard to get now. So at least it's got that with it. Radio, tape. That's the volume's right up. Well, that seems to work. Where's FM, AM?
It feels like she needs to join in. And like I said...
That made a weird noise.
Join the good stuff.
That speaker makes a funny sound when I turn it off. But that's probably the least of our worries. Oh, that's right, it makes a weird sound when it's in tape sometimes, that's right. Fast forward, rewind, everything works on that roughly. Besides that weird sound coming out of it. I think this deck was non-operational. It's sort of trying to go. Very poor take up and noisy. Surprisingly, rewind, fast forward still work. So even if it's just a display piece, I'd be happy with it. But it would be nice if I can get this thing running. It's going to be fun dealing with all these filthy batteries, I'm sure, but get the old rubbish box here and flick these into it. Best thing is, do not handle them. Just use a screwdriver to poke them out. If I get one out, the others will drop out. Oh man, that's rusted right through the case. Surprisingly, there's not much goo in there. The springs are very rusty, but I'm just hoping they didn't spill corrosive material everywhere. The screw under there is a bit rusty. Yeah, there's actual holes through them. I wonder if they got a date on these things. But yeah, people commonly left them in things. I think they're so old they don't even have a date. They've probably been in there since the 1980s or something. Who would know? Made in Australia, so I'd say they're pretty old. Like I say, probably from the 80s or 90s or something, because I don't think they put dates on them back then. Do not recharge, do not dispose of in fire. A 1235 R14 piece size C. Don't know if that helps date them. Oh, the other thing I've got to do is poke all this. I might take it outside and poke all this clay out of the holes and hope the hell it doesn't stink like dead spiders too much. Well, out of 4 screw holes that had been filled with clay, only one of them looked like something might have chewed its way back out of there, so not a very good success rate, but I guess it means there's less of those annoying wasps around. I've scraped the worst out with a bigger screwdriver and then just use like a little fine screwdriver to get it out of the actual cross piece where the screwdriver goes in. looks like they're coming out alright, so that's the main thing. But we may find a real mess in here from those batteries, or we hopefully won't find any mess from those batteries. Usually it's pretty obvious when they've leaked everywhere. I do have a national boombox here that the batteries are leaked all over everything, and it's a really complicated sort of circuit in there with audio going back and forwards everywhere, and it's just got no sound from memory, but it is a complete mess, and it's plated through holes, double-sided board. So I think that one's pretty well a write-off. Even if you did get it going again, it's not going to be particularly reliable necessarily. Well, it looks like the backlight's come off this thing, I guess, isn't it? So this is the front coming off them. Well, so far not looking too bad. With an antenna lead there to unplug. Don't think it's actually dry, completely dry in here from those batteries. It looks like they just slowly rusted out and evaporated, and there's a little bit of corrosion where that screw was. Maybe I've just wiped it off. A little cobweb. Most of these upper speakers, I thought they sounded a bit like tweeters, and they are just a sealed back tweeter, so that's interesting. They seem to put out a lot of high frequencies, but not the most use if they're actually pointing away from where you're listening. Let's disconnect the power. I think this was the one out of, I'm pretty sure this had a dodgy power socket in it now that I remember it. Some of that noise it was making, don't know if it was due to that, but I think when I first plugged this in it was dropping in and out or arcing or something. Now there's a screw there by the look of it. Maybe 2 screws in the transformer, which is a good design, so especially for a portable unit. Screw everything together nicely so it doesn't break off when someone drops it or whatever, bumps it around a lot. It looks like it's well soldered to me. Doesn't mean it hasn't got a break on one side or something. I was pretty sure it was making an arcing sound. It seems to be all solid. You've got to check both the 2 power lugs and plus the ones for that switch the battery there. I'm just going to resolder all that anyway to make sure I'm not missing a dry joint there, but they all look fine. Normally they're pretty obvious when they've gone. Sometimes they'll crack around the solder blob. Bit of dead spider skins there. Just make sure there's no dry joints on the transformer, because the board sort of moves independent of that. Oh, it's the fuse. No cracks in it. I might just resolder those transformer pins. Unless it's the actual cable itself, it's possible it's got a break. If I got one with the original cable, it'd be more likely to have a dodgy end on the cable or something, so they can sort of get fractured inside the, particularly where they flex it. This plastic's gone quite hard, so I can get a break in the copper there. Pins look alright. Anyway, it won't have to give that a quick service while I'm in here, because it's a known problem pointing portable devices with plug-in cables. Just won't have to go over it. Just as a general bit of service. The antenna's quite filthy, probably corroded, so I don't know if I can do much to clean that one up. It might polish up alright, but probably going to need a bit of metal polish or something on it to get what seems to be a bit of corrosion on the surface. Surprised no one's taken they are made out of brass, those things, so surprised no one's got around to stripping all the chrome off them to give them a brass look or something, just for a bit of an extra retro look. But these antennas are normally brass tubing. I might get rid of that back bit. Now what else could cause noise issues and stuff in these things? Could just be dirty switches. So we've got a big band switch comes over here, and then we had these function switches was the next thing that seemed a bit iffy maybe. They got all connections down there. Oh, we've got some other little switch here. Is that in the battery compartment or something? Or is it underneath the unit? Beat cancel 1, 2, 3. I think that was just something to do with the AM radio. Now I see a dial cord. Looks like this actually whole chassis comes out of this thing. That's loose, that's loose. That one's holding it in. I reckon most of the screws go through the case. I'll keep that screw separate. That's all the bottom ones, I think. So yeah, the decks are lifting a bit. So is it these ones? That does look a little bit corroded, that screw. Oops. That wasn't real clever. Screw it right under the camera lens. Do I need to take this one out? I'm not sure I do, but just for now. Oh, the knobs are definitely going to have to come off. Yeah, I think that one could have stayed. Yeah, it's still loose in the same way, so I definitely want to eject the doors. They'll be holding quite a bit of that in probably. Feels like something else is... We'll get these knobs off if I can... That one seems to be... Is that coming? You can't access them from behind, which is annoying because it's not ideal to prise these up with a screwdriver, but sometimes you can use a bit of tape or something, but often you can... Depending on the unit, you don't want to mark. The other way is to put a bit of tape on them and squeeze with some pliers. Insulation tape never seems to stick around for long. But hopefully is enough, you just got to be a bit careful, but that's going to slide straight off, isn't it? Probably better off using some pliers that aren't knurled like those big ones. No, that's just going to... Oh, it came off anyway. Well, there you go. Maybe I just need to put... No, yeah, I could put some tape on it and that's enough. No, I could pull it off with my hand anyway. Well, there you go. Usually they're a lot harder to get off than that. So now we're sagging down a bit here. Oh, tuning knob, I guess. Now, how does that come off? It's probably just on a normal sort of knurled shaft, I guess. I never like doing these things because it usually takes a heap of force, enough to feel like you're about to break it, but that's going to have to come off, I think. And it really doesn't want to. Come on. I think it's slowly working its way off. It seems to be. You just got to put so much force into them and they're not getting any less brittle with age. You just wobble it side to side a bit and it's coming. Or something is. Well, that brass shaft is still there, so yeah, it is just a knurled sort of shaft. And there you have it. Well, that's not so bad. It looks like the speaker's unplugged, so that's quite a cool little design. A lot of dirt in the microphone. Well, at least I can clean all these knobs properly while I got it apart. Very small little belt, small little motor. Does it use one motor between the nerves? Another second motor there by the look of it. It's got a record, playback switch. I probably should give all the switches a clean. Just got to be careful. This dial cord. You don't catch that with anything. Don't touch it with a soldering iron. Generally stay away from it as much as you can, but you just can't help often putting your hands on these things when you're messing around. But they are a pain if you ever knock one off. So I think we'll start by squirting something down in that switch. Can we get... Oh yeah, I think we can get access to this top bit, which is great. Yeah, which side did that go on? Should have took more notice, shouldn't I? Well, that one goes on the other side, so I wonder if I went the other way around. Probably did. It'd be my luck to get it completely wrong when there's a 50-50 chance of getting it right. I probably should have left that power board off the back cover actually, because it would have been easier to run the thing in pieces that way. But I think we've got enough room. It's got a headphone socket. Oh, even that little beat switch, I might just give a quick. Oops, missed. A quick squirt of stuff in there. Can't really trust anything. It's got a record playback switch down there too, big long one. So I might try and get in that while I'm at it. And hold on the top. Now, can I actually poke it? I don't think I can operate it without... Where's the record lever on this thing? It should be here, there. Everything's upside down to make it complicated. Is that gonna, or do I need to press the... Yeah, looks like I have to press the whole mech. Find those little pinch rollers in this thing. It's almost like a little Walkman mechanism. It's using smaller motors, very flat and thin sort of mechanism. Oh, there's a second belt in there. Is it a second belt or is it one belt that keeps going? Yeah, it's a second belt doing the idler and stuff. They're both in there and don't look too bad, but it's quite possible there's something wrong with the belts in it. And if you're going to give this thing a general service, you just replace them. Did that come out of there? Must have done. Oh, hang on. That's a 3-pin and that's a 2-pin. Oh, wait, which way around am I? This is all... That was the speaker connector, so where did the power one go? That's... Oh, it went on the side here somewhere, didn't it? There it is. Everything's upside down and around the wrong way. Does that go that way? I think it does. Okay, so we got that. And we may want the speakers still hooked into it, which came out the other end. So we should be able to run this thing in pieces. If I can get the speakers on the right way and put the power back in. It doesn't feel the best, I must admit, but okie dokie. Now we should have power there. The next problem is, how do you operate it? Seems rather dead to me. Have to turn this up the right way so I can see what is what. So we've got radio. Ah, there, it's just slow to come on probably. That's continuous play. Of course we haven't got an antenna at the moment. And I've missed the tuning up.
Hoping calling on the government to ban new coal and gas projects in exchange for their support. But Mr. Ban...
I think that's stopped it making that funny noise. Yeah, it's still a little icky in that power cord. That's what I thought. Both tape decks are a little noisy in the gears. See the belt wobbling around a bit, which probably doesn't help. And this one's very noisy in the gears, and it's like the gears aren't meshing. See if I can see anything here. That goes on into a little little idler gear thing which goes across to another gear, and it's actually slipping against the other white gear, so something's not sitting right there. It doesn't look like it's quite in the best position. Now the next fun part, see how these decks come out and whether they're going to give me much grief. I think they just, just a few screws and it should pop off. So I might get lucky with this one and not be too complicated. I take it these two screws near the motor as well, but then it depends what the wiring is going to do. Whether we have any room to play with it easily. Yeah, the wiring's a little tight there. Can I could probably free the motor up a bit if I can pull it out of that little plastic bit. That's probably enough. Oh, we've got a head wire as well, which goes up through there. We might be able to loosen that enough to... Yeah, is it going to come out of there easily? Yeah, it's tight. It's pretty soft cable too normally. I don't like to mess with that too much. I mean, they must have pushed it in there, but not sure I trust pulling it out in a hurry. Yeah, let's see, can I get enough to work here? Or I could unscrew the head though, then you've got to line it back up again. Really is not good. Oh, come on, why won't you get where I want you to go? Man, that is really tight compared to the wire. No, it comes out. If you kind of twist it the right way, I guess the wires inside just fit through a bit better. There we go, we can at least rotate this thing round. That's power cords I want. And I guess I can hand run it now. Now where's play? At least they put the markings on the buttons, that's always nice. And that little gear doesn't seem to engage the other one very well now, does that? I think that other one here swings across. Well, it's meant to. You can hear it just clicking on the gear. So this is the take-up reel. Then there's this little intermediate, little tiny gear. And that sounds a bit crunchy even. I don't know if I take that gear off, see it's running fine. A little loose in there seemingly, but no crunchiness as soon as I let this one across. But it's probably, might just be that belt, but that's what I thought. Maybe the belt's not pulling it well enough, but still doesn't really engage. Oh, hang on, now it's scratching even without that there. Interesting. There is a bit of muck in it, whether that's, I don't think that's the problem. So it both doesn't engage with that side, and now it's scratchy with the other side, so what is going on there? Oh no, it's this, so there's another gear. There is two. So that's just maybe because I'm not turning that, it's... Yeah, now it almost seems to be working. In fact, it is working, so I wonder if... that'd be right. No, but if I put a bit of tension on it, it soon starts crunching again. So, because I reckon that's just the belt's not tight enough, is it? So there's two different things that can crunch against. So this one I don't think even, this isn't actually coming across in play mode. It's just this bit here is the one tending. So that's, of course, if I don't turn it, it's going to grate a bit. I thought it was grating against the other one, but I don't think the other one's even meant to be engaged to this little gear. It's just this gear and that gear are meant to be engaged. As soon as I push on that, it stops there because the belt slips. But what does the belt... it actually looks a bit rough, that thing. I think the belt gives it most of its tension, so maybe it's a lack of tension in the belt. Yeah, it's got little screws like a Walkman as well. Let's safe to power this up. It's running a bit better than it was, although it doesn't take much to... But that belt's got a lot of wobble in it because it's not real good. Yeah, it takes very little to stop it. Same with that one. Bit of hum, that's just me interfering with the heads a bit, I think. And probably got them right next to that power transformer, doesn't help. So I guess all I can really do is maybe change those belts. I'll pull that bracket off. God, that's got tiny little screws. Well, that's a nice little set of insulated screwdrivers from Bunnings, but are the Phillips that small? Possibly not. Because it's I can get that one, but I'm not sure about the other. That's actually got a spring under it. Interesting, so maybe you can set the tension on the capstan or something. I hate these little screws because they're very easy to lose and very hard to find a replacement for. Especially when they're black coloured. So does that spring just fall out? It probably does. It's got a little bit of that green lacquer there to hold it maybe. I don't think this is going to undo that screw, is it? That's a super tiny one. So I've got a much smaller one here. It was out of a different screwdriver set. Lucky I cleaned up the workshop today because I forgot I even had that one. Though I do have another set of the old metal precision screwdrivers. Ooh, so as soon as I put that on the carpet it jumps out of its little hole. I thought I'll leave that screw in the hole. And it jumps out on me anyway. I probably don't have to pull the caps, and then again, maybe I do. Now I better check the other side for any little... yeah, it does have a little washer on it, I think. Oh, maybe not. Oh, no, there's nothing there. Well, I need to give that a clean and lubrication anyway. Well, I'm pushing it like that. It has plenty of... well, how does it? It seems to have reasonable contact with the other gear, but... I guess it's just the tension fit. I can't really see the little tooth part on that white bit. To get any idea what they look like, whether the teeth could be chewed or anything. There are a couple of little splits in the end there, which is never a good sign of these plastic things. Bit of dried up grease, and there is some dusty stuff in here which doesn't necessarily help. Doesn't seem to really move, but that's probably because I haven't got any... yeah, that's definitely disengaged, I think. Press that. Yeah, I can't engage it without play down. When we have play, it can be engaged. But it does tend to spin pretty easily without spinning the other one. I'm definitely going to take there as a lump of something there, get rid of that. problem is if there's any bits of gritty stuff or anything in here, that won't help. I don't think those splits matter much. That is the tiniest little groove for a belt to run in I've seen. Some sort of metal thing sticking up a bit there which looks a little bit out, but it's just part of that slide plate. That just pivots on a little pin here. I mean, it's free enough. I think we're just going to have to put a belt in and see if that gives it a bit more tension to come in and engage properly. It's the most likely problem. First, of course, I'll give it a clean out. Quite a bit of grot in there by the look of it. Black old belt material coming out. Definitely want to be rid of that. And the same with this other one here. That is some dried up grease, I think. Not sure why it would have grease there. And clean the little groove out in there. And give that capstan a good clean while we've got it out. Easier than doing it when it's in. I might put a little bit of grease or something on there just to lube it. And I'll put it back. I'm probably better off putting it down the little shaft there so we can't get it on the belt. Yeah, that little spring's holding there. It's only just holding there. That stuff's broken off a bit. And better give the motor pulley a clean. And I guess the back pulley here a clean. A little double bit of steel on there, I guess, because they want to keep the diameter down. They've just increased the thickness to get a similar weight there. These belts are definitely different size. So I'm going to check out the China belt kit again from eBay, see if we can get a couple more belts out of this. It's been absolutely useful. Been an excellent supply of belts so far. I think these other ones in here are a little too small. What's the point getting them out? That's getting there. But yeah, they have everything I've needed so far. I wonder if that's too tight or that's going to be pretty close. I'm going a bit smaller diameter than what the original one is. Not sure if I reckon I should just dab a little bit of oil on the cotton bud in there. I don't want to put a whole drop of oil down there or anything silly, but a little bit of lubrication won't hurt. So I've probably used up the belt of the right length. Funny thing is, when you got belts in stock, you always seem to use the same ones over and over again. It's like engineers of these things like to use the same sizes all the time. At least the Japanese ones, I guess, made most of this stuff. I think that's going to have to do for now. I'll probably have to pull this to bits again anyway. Chuck the old belts away so I don't mix them up with the new ones. But you always used to use up certain size belts over and over, and other ones basically never used them. Because I did have a set of the entire range. I'd have bought off another technician that sort of got out of doing that stuff. And some belts you'd buy in bags of 10 because you'd use them so much. While other ones, you know, sat there for, I don't know how many years ago I bought that. It would have been in the 90s or something. And some of them have never been touched, I don't think. I think he bought 2 of each, and some bags still have the 2 of them in there. Because I normally wouldn't replace them until I'd use the second one, sort of thing. Some of them, I think the record player ones, he probably only had 1 of, or the flat belts, but I think a lot of these other ones, he actually bought 2 of each. Because some decks do actually use 2, like the Sony Boombox, I did use 2 the same size, so occasionally you come across a nice design like that. That is a little bit long, I think. And it's a little bit noisy, Let's see what it works like when you actually run it, assuming it does work, and whether those gears still make a horrible noise. No, we seem to have fixed the gear sound, but the capstan is making a horrible noise. Yeah, that's got heaps of torque there now. Better check the other ones. Rewind, yeah, nice and quiet. That's ironic, isn't it? I wonder if I did something though, because yeah, that belt's definitely too long. Why does it now scrape on something when it didn't scrape on something before? Well, at least we know the belt seems to be the issue with the noisy gears, but yeah, man, that thing is noisy. Not happy at all. I could back this screw off a bit, but I don't think that'll help. Yeah, if I push that back a bit, so it's like I've lost, but there was no sign of any washer or anything on it. But it's like I've lost a washer or something off the front of it. I'll put my finger on the end of the capstan where it's come through near the pinch roller. You lift it up that little bit and it runs fine. So it's like something came off it. That's, even though that belt's a little long, it's still plenty of torque. It grips nicely at least. And I'm pretty sure nothing fell off it, so that's very weird. I guess the only thing I can do is maybe look at the other side and see if there's anything. Oh, there it is. I did lose a little washer off it by the look of it. I wonder if it dropped off the... And of course it's black so you can't see it. That would be our issue. Oh, at least I found it. Not the first time something like that's happened. And I may have to look at my other belt kits. Well, actually I've got on the second one of these belt kits, I think. I might see if that one's got the length I need, because it probably did have, and I've just used it on something else. So there was a damn little washer in there. That's always the way. And they sneak out without you seeing them. Come on. And that little spring, don't lose that. This one is not one of my favourite decks so far. But just, it's not too bad to work on, but that is really annoying when they do things like that where little bits can escape. I guess the reason was because it was right down in there. I didn't notice it. So when I've done something, lifted this capstan up or whatever and sat it down, so that is quite a tight fit too, so it shouldn't have slid off easily. See now, not hoping out of getting that off there, so maybe it was still attached to the end of that and I didn't notice. Because normally they come off with the capstan. The only other thing, maybe it was sitting on there and I've moved the deck. It's probably on video somewhere, but I certainly didn't notice it. But I'll push it right up there. That, I reckon, will cure our scraping problem. And we'll go from there around there. Well, that's a relief. Still sounds a little noisy, but that's probably the other gears and stuff. But it's definitely not scraping like it was, so there you go. Now I need a slightly shorter belt than that one. It was 43 and 46, so it's got to be one of them. It's the 46. Just, I don't know, I guess we can try it since I've got one. Just to prove it is that size. I might still pinch it out of that other kit. But they do go down in fairly small graduations. Oh, that goes under that little felt pad thing. Yeah, that's the one, I think. So at least I know what size that is. It's an actual 46. 46 by 1.2 does the job. Now I was hoping to keep a stock of those things, so let's see if this Chinese kit has one. I don't know how many belts I've pulled out of that other kit, but it's been quite a few. I'll just pick a careful of those little screws and stuff, I don't lose them. These are definitely in the vicinity. I reckon that's about our 46. Both of those are very close. That's probably it, maybe just a tad long. Actually, I want to keep that other one too, don't I? Because that's about the same size for the other deck. And that one came out of that kit. So let's try and get these little screws and stuff back in, and hopefully this deck is now a goer. It's got to go under the belt, does it? Yep. Just to be even more annoying than before. Now I'll get this little spring back in. At least I can sort of jam that in there. And there's the oil. Come on. Not what you want to be doing with the spring, because it's going to want to shoot off somewhere. I think that's okay. Maybe just a tad longer that belt than it should be, but it's only one from my collection, so it's probably never going to get used to play a tape anyway. So I'll give it one more test, and I better give it a clean and stuff as well. I guess we can just hold it like that. Gears are a little noisy there. There's the volume on this thing, of course, disappeared somewhere. Turn that hum down. Pretty standard for these sort of decks to make a little bit of noise. Nothing like the noise it was making before though. Even when I grab that, it's hard to make the gears great. Can do it, but now, how did I get this in this position? I can't seem to get it back. That's around the volume control, of course. Okay. We should be safe to screw that back in. So that deck should be good. I guess we could try taping it as well. So power, volume, put old Eric Bogle back in. If it eats him, I don't mind. And how well I remember. Well, now it's making a funny noise. If I... So once you put tension on it, maybe it is still slipping a bit. That terrible day, how our blood stained the sand. That's fine. That's fine. Day, how our blood stained the sand and the water. Don't know where to set that capstan bracket, so maybe I've done that up a little tight. Could be causing something. Well, it's not that. I don't know what's quite making that noise. That's your auto stop, I think. Yep. Doesn't do it without a tape in there. Is it just that thing again? Try a short tape in there. That's still making a lot of noise. Feels like it is that real. There's quite a bit of vibration on it. Damn, so something's still not right in there. Okay, so on this one I'm going to give this a bit of a clean up. I've already cleaned a bit of the dirt off and got those little labels off. And you can see the difference between these two speakers because I pulled one out and cleaned that, because when you slot these out, they just slide out. Absolutely filthy from facing upwards. Oh, actually you do have to take the thing off. So first, these little metal rings come off. You just simply press these little clips in. And we want those gone if we're going to ever paint this thing, and they could do with a clean up. And then the speaker, these little tweeter things come out. Look at that, I mean that's absolutely disgusting. There's like layers of dust on there. Thankfully it hasn't damaged the dust cap or anything, so I'll remove all these speakers. What I found is these grills actually seem to have been melted down into the plastic, I think. It's either glue or some sort of stuff melting it in, but they no hope of them coming off. So what I'm going to have to do is just mask up all around here with masking tape and newspaper or something all over the unit. And then I think I'll just do the whole 4 of them. There's only a tiny bit of rust on that, but there's a couple other marks, a couple of scratches on that one. These top ones are pretty rusty, look absolutely terrible. So I'll mask it up, clean that speaker up. I think we can just pull all this wiring out by the look of it and stuff, can we? Yeah, it's glued in a bit. I may even just leave these speakers hanging and put them in a bag or something so they don't get spray paint on them. Could remove the doors, but I don't know that I need to bother. Might just tape them shut as well and wrap paper around them. And we'll see what that comes up. It'll look a heap better with that rust gone off these speaker grills. And then I've got to get back onto the mechs, but having a look at it, I think there's actually split gears in these mechanisms is why they're making the noise. I also noticed one of the pinch rollers got a few splits in it, but I don't hold a lot of hope actually being able to fix this. I did loosen up one of the plastic bits. You can see it was cracked, and there's like a pulley, and then the little gear on the other end, it was actually quite tight when I pulled it off the mech to turn by hand. So we'll have a proper look at the other deck as well. But it was still noisy afterwards, and you can see what looks like a bit of a split in it. So I think this mech may be unrepairable unless I can get parts for it. But anyway, we'll at least make this thing look good so I can sit on a shelf. It's quite a nice looking little box. So we'll spray that up. I'll maybe show it when it's masked up. And maybe even a bit of footage of spraying it, I guess, if I can be bothered, but it's nothing particularly exciting. Okay, so I've got it all done. I've put some newspaper on the inside because of course it's going to spray through those things, and even sealed up the middle bit a bit so it can't get onto the back of the cassette doors. But that should do it. Except there's a bit of a computer stuck to it. I'll give that a quick spray, and actually I've managed to get a bit over there which I don't want. And that should come up quite nice. Yeah, well I got this cleaned up. Looking a lot better than it was. Clean speakers, grills darkened. Only issue is it actually pulled the masking tape, pulled some of this silver stuff off, so I got a bit backwards there. Only a couple of little patches on one side, but the other side quite a bit of it came off. So it really needs a good chrome coating again. I think you can actually pop this bit off. Either that or I just broke it. But yeah, it looks like these, if you press these pins, eventually you can get that whole silver surround piece off, I think. But I'll leave it on there for the moment. Speakers are back in place. Only thing I haven't done is I've got to poke these wires back down the hole. I had to rip a bit of glue to get these out. Okay, so that should be back together. And yeah, looking quite nice though, compared to what it was with those rusty grills. It looked terrible, and all the dirt and dust that was in there. And yeah, I was going to say, something's not sitting right. That speaker's moved. Oh, so they're actually going to move a little bit, are they? Even though they shouldn't. Probably got to jam them where those little bits of black stuff are, just to make 100% sure you got it nice and tight. And then it's pushed into that bit there. Always a bit fiddly for some reason. They weren't glued in or anything, so that's the top part of it. I'm glad that bit's done, because that took quite a bit of work. Now what I do have to look at again, I've probably got some video I can use off when I originally looked at this, I might put this deck back in because I better clean the buttons, I guess, if I want them to look any good. But this deck, I've gone over and looked at this little piece here, the white bit. It's got a split in it. I actually pulled this one out completely and found that it was quite tight. But fixing it, putting more tension on the belt didn't achieve anything. As soon as you put a tape in there, it starts making a horrible noise again, and it does a bit in rewind anyway. It's making a sort of grating sound like the gears aren't fitting together properly and they're slipping or something. And I think the actual gear on the other side of this little tiny one is split. It certainly didn't look the best. So I think this may be unrepairable. I wasn't too fussed about that one gluing it or anything. I just thought I'll pull it apart because I can actually put a bit of araldite in theory on top of that bit where the split is. Ideally, it's because that slides right off the shaft. I think I pulled it right off. But you could actually just put a dab of araldite on the top here, and that would at least stop it from sliding down that way, which was the original problem. It had gotten too tight. But even loosening that up so it spins more freely hasn't made any difference to anything. So I think it's in a pretty bad way. It's very hard to tell, you can barely see. It's just the tiniest little gear. It's only like, I don't know, maybe 3 mils diameter or something. It's not much, not a lot of teeth on it. Just to make life difficult. And I think that's the main issue. And like I said, I did notice this pinch roller actually has a couple of splits going sideways across the face. So that pinch roller does want replacing, so I thought maybe could that be causing issues, not pulling the tape enough, so it's putting too much tension on the take-up reel. But I tried that and didn't make any difference. By putting more pressure on it, I think it just actually made the thing stop rather than improve anything with the noise it's making. I guess we can have a quick look at the noise it makes. I think, did I capture that? I can't remember what I did now. I think I just did it off camera. So we might just give a quick demo, and then when I'll pull the other deck to bits, and we'll have a look at that, see if it's basically the same issue by the look of it, which I assume it is. So replacing the belts made no difference at all. And I think I did something to it. Sometimes when you poke it a certain way, it would actually stop it making as much noise mechanically, or the gears slipping or whatever they're doing, grating together. Is that even plugged in? Yes it is. Bench on. So it's grinding away a bit, and then it does that, it basically slips, and I thought I had made it a bit better, but then as soon as you put a tape in and put tension on it, listen to it, and it doesn't actually even pull through at the correct speed, which is kind of weird. I think from memory it was causing quite a bit of wow, which would suggest it's affecting the capstan. So maybe it's doing more than just sort of slipping or something. It's actually grinding gears in the sort of way that is putting load on the motor and stuff. It's actually, they're not meshing nicely. What function are we on? Who knows? I've got no audio out of the tape. Should have some audio there. Press and eject. Ooh, yeah, that one barely turns at all. Well, basically doesn't. Well, this was a deck that had some weird muting issues before, but now I don't seem to have any audio. I can hear something like it unmutes. Oh, are you telling me this tape doesn't have any audio on it? It's a commercial tape. And pegs, a man needs both legs. That's playing better than it was, I think. No more waltzing Matilda. It doesn't have the guess we can just put the press tape in there. It doesn't have the wow that it had before. It was really grinding, much like that other deck is sounding absolutely terrible. Yeah, I don't think that's real good. Yeah, there's a fair bit of warble in that, so it's not great. And I suspect it's to do that, but I don't think that was grinding as much. I don't think that's grinding as badly. It's making a fair bit of noise. So you can see the other one was absolutely hopeless. That's the record deck, you barely touch it and it's grinding and slipping. So maybe that is something to do with the belts. They probably help a little bit replacing them. But these are quite a fiddly little mech. They're a specialised deck made obviously, well, maybe not just for this Sanyo or Sanyo generally even, but they're not a standard. Maybe I shouldn't have screwed that other deck in yet. They're not some sort of generic deck as far as I know. They almost look like they're out of a Walkman or something. They're that kind of dainty little deck. They've got little tiny screws in parts and stuff, so very weird kind of arrangement. This is going to have a record playback switch, isn't it? Yeah, I think this other deck's almost in the way. And we've got a radio dial here to make it even more precarious. And yeah, what have we got? Wires underneath here that don't want to come out. It's got this tie around the wires that I can't even get my fingers onto. Ah, come on. That doesn't help. I'm not sure if we're going to have to lift up. Definitely touching here. The orange wires there. Oh, it's actually almost coming just from loosening up those wires. Amazing. And then the head wires are going to be in the way because they're always in some tight little thing here. Just to make life difficult. I don't know if we've got enough length there. Should see if they've got plugs on those things, but I think I'm going to have to take the other deck back out, of course. I thought I was finished with that, but I guess I should have really checked before I put it back where the other motor was mounted, because it's a bit different to this one being under the deck. So that's a bit of a pain. Luckily I didn't put this back together too much. Oh, here we go. Yeah, that audio wire is a bit short to say the least, so we've got some sort of plastic record switch thing there. Then we've got a motor switch, two motor switches, so this is a bit different to the other one, I think. If we get them out of there, free them up a bit. Where do those head wires go? I can't even see where they go. Oh, they do go down. It looks like they go down these plugs down the bottom here. That would be the record one too, I reckon. That big long. Oh, and they're stuck in all the plastic work all the way from here to Timbuktu, I think. Come on. Yeah, you really need to take the circuit board off, I think, ideally. That doesn't move at all. Why do you not move at all? This switch is kind of grabbing it. I might just be able to pull it just a little bit, just so I can get it a bit further. And yeah, this is basically the same setup with another little bit of split looking plastic there. What are the belts like in this? Again, a little bit off, but not bad. But yeah, the other one did it have any switches? It must have at least one switch on there, I guess. So what you got to undo is you have two little tiny screws, and there's a little spring under this bracket on the capstan just to make it extra difficult. Another little thing you've got the potential of losing. I'll bring the camera down, I guess. So yeah, so tiny little screw up here, and I'll just kind of leave it there, I think, not take it out. I need an even smaller screwdriver to do the other side. The one on the other deck's slightly different shape, but basically the same setup. That doesn't want to come. I don't want to flick anything and shake it. So got the spring attached, yeah. I think the capstan just comes out. There's no washer on it, but there is a washer on the other side. We can take this belt off here. Yeah, I think there's a washer sitting. That's got some muck on that one. So this one's staying up in there. It's got quite a lump of. It comes off easy though. A bit of muck on the capstan. Where'd that belt go? So that's the belt this side. You've got your motor belt. And so it's this little piece here. Now, how did I do this again? Let's get that belt out of the way. I probably should change the belts, but this one's not going to be so easy. But there's a little tiny spring. You've got to take this little washer off. There's the tiniest, like hair thin spring on this bit. Oh, come on, come off. They always want to insist on being a pain so that they can shoot off across the room. So plastic washer, then there's this little spring. Just make sure you don't even poke it without putting your finger on it so it can't shoot off, but it's going under this other washer. And it comes out under this other little piece here. Did I take it off with the piece? I think I did. So we slide this little white plastic bit up. Then we've got to, yeah, that's right, take this washer off. And the idler assembly thing does come out, little gear and plastic bit. Not sure why they've even got that. It's quite a weird setup, really, this one. This thing either, this white thing, oh no, where did that go? Oh, there it is, down there. They just disappear sometimes. Oh, it's stuck to that, which is a bonus. But yeah, they've got like this intermediate little gear here that swings for rewind fast forward between that little gear and the lower part of this, the unclutched part. This upper piece, you can see that yellowy thing under there, that's the clutch. And then this bit comes across from the belt, or basically the belt comes around this. This swings down and engages the upper part, it must be, I guess, the bit on the other side of the upper part of the clutch. And that's all it is, it's a belt. It directly drives onto this little, tiny little, like I say, about 3mm or something gear there. And to be fair, this one doesn't look too bad. The other one did look like it might have had a bit of a split down in the gear part. And let's just check this out and see. Make sure it hasn't got anything grot or grit or anything in there. Doesn't feel the greatest when you slide the screwdriver down those teeth, the valley between them. So there's a bit of grease in there, I think, but it feels really rough. I'm not pulling any bits of plastic off. I've seen gears like that where they'll chew up and stuff. This one turns fine. So this one hasn't gone tight like the other one. And yet, for some reason, it doesn't engage very well, makes a lot of noise. What is that? Just a moulding thing or a bit of grease? Don't know. So that seems to be alright. So it's either not sitting right, it's not engaging right. So the height of that, yeah, it's got a flat bit on the bottom, and it's perfectly set up to mesh with that gear. Flat bit lower down, yeah, not a problem. Exact right height. Of course, we need to put this in, what is that, play mode? It doesn't come across. Oh, that's the stop button. That'll stuff it up. it comes down and it engages it, but it's like it doesn't come low enough. So that's the other issue, is does it come low enough? What's it hitting? Is it hitting on that? There's a piece of metal there. I think that was something. Yes, the pause. Could it be that the pause? Yeah, if I press on that a bit harder, that's nice engagement. If I push on it lightly, that seems to come down enough. That didn't quite well engage. That's the other thing I noticed, is these are quite wobbly. Like there's wear in the reel, but maybe that's normal. I'm not sure how these reels come apart. I don't know if you're meant to pull that bit off, but I mean, if that's got a spring in there, I doubt it. This end must come off somehow. Then you take this piece out, and I'm not sure I want to risk breaking it, but there should be a way of popping this piece off here. I think you force that bit upwards. I don't know whether it just is press fit. I'm not sure if that spring, is that spring pushing against that? If it is, again, you think the tension, I don't know if, I may have to risk it, but I don't think there's actually a fault with that bit, to be honest. Yes, that's, could it be something to do with the pause button? See, now it's engaged nicely, really strongly. Well, then again, when I push it in the right spot. So, I mean, can it be too much play in this thing? It's something very minute, I think. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is the faulty part. Yes, I'm not sure if this thing's just not moving across. I mean, what else can it be? That something would have had to have lost some teeth or changed position. Pins all saying they're all on a fixed plate, so it's very unlikely. I mean, that does have a little bit of play in it, but I can't see that being enough. It's possible these teeth are worn down. I mean, it's possible, but when you mesh that thing with it, there's plenty of bite there. They do look a little rounded off, but especially when you compare them to, say, the teeth on this other one, or even the teeth on that one. So is it possible they've worn, or are they just different type of teeth, and these were always a bit different? But I mean, something's changed in this thing over the years. Yeah, impossible to know, really. They are a bit, actually, yeah, the more I look at them, they do look a bit blunt, and possibly, or is that just more grease on them that's making them look, some of them looked a bit chewed out at the ends, but it's possible they made this out of bad plastic or something and it's worn out over time. But the only other thing I can really do would be to modify this lever a bit. Everything here looks pretty much like it's in place. Like that could have moved that way a bit and not be... I mean, you could file a piece out of that as well, I guess, is another option. Oh, that's just that plastic cover I'm looking at there, isn't it? I mean, it's got to be something in this area. You've got two levers, the pause one, which, like I say, seems to be solidly in place. Looks like it's about right. I'm not sure what actually, there's no play in it, like it's moved. I can understand if there's some sort of spring pushing on it and it had worn a bit and moved, well, this way it would have to come. Like that, you know, is perceivable sort of thing that could go wrong. But I don't know which one of these two is actually stopping it. I mean, it feels a lot like teeth that just aren't capable of gripping. If you push it a little bit tighter, it still slips. I don't think that should. Not if you're meshed right in there. Oh, and that does sort of signify worn out teeth really, so maybe it's this upper wheel on this thing. In fact, you can make that. And there's a clutch, of course, so it's sliding at the moment because of the clutch. It doesn't really seem right that that would slip. Of course, the problem is this thing's in the way, so you can't actually see how well engaged it is, but that thing does seem to pop out. But the thing is, I don't think that, you know, we're in position and that just does not bite. In any great way. And of course, with a big tape on there, there is a bit of torque required. Oh no, that piece came off, and that's like I say, because it's cracked. I guess with all my play with it, we finally... Oh. Oops, if you stop the thing so you can actually get it out. Looks like I made it come loose. Oh no, where's the tooth? Better not lose that. So this is our little tooth wheel. Maybe that's what I needed to get that out of the way. Shite. Flew across the bloody room, didn't it? Of course it did. Well, that seems to have... Yeah. It will flick it out eventually. That grips quite well. So is it just not coming across enough? I guess I should push that in there and just see what it looks like up magnified, if they look like they're kind of made for each other, these teeth. And yeah, they look quite okay, I think. Of course, they're both the same colour, so a bit hard to tell, but yeah, that doesn't seem to be anything wrong there. How do I determine... Well, see, the other thing is, what if this is too low? Now I'm talking. What if this has actually slipped down so low that it's hitting on that bit of metal? I wonder if that could be the issue. But if you push them any tighter, it could be something that silly, of course. Now, how would you... Well, that would have to drop. Yeah, who knows? There's a plastic washer on this other bit. I need to get back in place. You don't want to push it, so that's not too bad. Could it be swinging just a little bit lower than it should? Now I'm making that a bit tight probably, but let's just take that play out so that pin's sticking above the plastic a bit. That could be the mode of failure, though it's too far over, it's not going to hit that bit of metal no matter what, I don't think. But there is a bit of, interestingly, a bit of the black plastic looks like it hits it, or can possibly do so. That's hitting alright, I think. So there's so this bit of black plastic bracket hits on the pause, it hits on the play, but I've just noticed it also hits on this bit of metal here, potentially at least on this little end piece here. What is that end piece for? Almost looks like it's meant to have a spring there or something, but unless they both lost a piece, but yeah. So the other option would be If I can pull this thing to pieces, why don't I remove those bits again? Oh, where's that bloody washer? Little green washer. Don't lose that. Just put the bits together for now. Let's get rid of the gears. Oh, that's actually sitting on that bit now. Why? Oh, so it's not... Oh, wait up. What? Oh, yeah. We're going to press play. That swings down, and the first thing that hits is, I don't know which one, but possibly it is hitting on this bit down here. So that's the bit. Well, I guess it's got to come in. Well, I'm just thinking this thing swings in and hits the other gear, and that's it. Like, it's all happy days. It doesn't matter how hard it hits it. The belt's going to push it across, but maybe it needs to not hit. But everything looks like it hits at the same time. But that is actually the part that stops it the most, I think. The fact it's got a little metal bit there, I wonder if I can bend that down one way or another. I kind of need to... I don't think it's going to bend that easy, although it does look a bit like I might have bent it. Have I bent it in the right place? Even if I have bent the end of it a bit, it only just needs a slight tiny bit there, probably just to... The other option, of course, is to sand a bit out of this thing, because you're talking these... The problem with these things, if something gets out a tiny amount, you sometimes just got to modify the part and fix it. You've either got to file that bit of metal off, or we file this bit of plastic off, which is probably damn sight easier. That little pin here, I'm just wondering if I don't just take a little sliver off that little round bit. Oh, why it's got a little pin sticking out of it. Now I've got to find my precision files. You know, these little sets of files that sit around for years doing nothing but occasionally come in handy. Maybe a triangular one. So it's that pin, and that pin where it pivots there. If I take that face off a little bit, if I can, I've got really nothing to lose here. Oh yeah, that did flatten out a bit in the end. I didn't want to quite necessarily take that much off, but that'll do. Because whatever this is going to be some minuscule amount of plastic needs removing or something. Well, I guess all I can do... I've got to keep hitting stop. And it's got all these silly wires in the way. Why don't you stop now? Uh-oh, I've broken it now. There it goes. Don't know if it was something to do with this thing, but... let's put it back together with its gears and bits and pieces. Because these things are just a pain. These little precision things that get out a few nanometers or something. I think that's a lot better. I mean, you can still get it to skip, of course, but... well, that might be all we needed. It's going to be something stupid like that. Oh, I'm going to put it back together. I wonder if I should... I'm not going to glue that. I don't know if that'll even get out over a lot of time. I'm not going to really use this thing, so it doesn't probably matter anyway, but ideally you probably would glue that. Uh-oh, where's that spring thing? There it is. Phew. I hate it when I can't see the bit I'm looking for. That's on. Well, I think that's worth a try. That might be the solution. It probably won't be, but we're going to hope. That swings across there somewhere. That little spring has to go, so that little piece goes under the, go under. It is literally as thin as a human hair, I think, this thing. It's the tiniest spring. And then we're going to flick it over this other post. I don't know if we even need to do... I probably don't need to do that before I put the clip back on it. Let's put the clip on so there's less chance of the spring getting airborne and going across the room somewhere, never to be seen again. I'm still going to try and hold it a bit. Did it go? I can't even see the damn thing. It got out from under my thumb though, that's for sure. Oh god, that's the worst tiny little thing in history. That strands of copper wire off a lot thicker than that. That's it, get in there, it's on the right side, now go down. That's it. That little piece springs back. That thing does its thing. We've got to get... I should, while I'm in here, I guess I might as well put a bit of oil on that thing even if this doesn't cure anything, because I don't know what else I can really do with this mech anyway. If this doesn't cure it, I think it might be time to give up. Maybe the gears are worn or something, but can't be much out there. And surely I can make it just a bit better so it at least operates good enough for now. I need to get, yeah, the other belt's still attached to the motor I think, so get a belt around that. In you go. Oh, I think the pinch rollers actually stop them going back in. Yep. That comes around there. I'm not even going to bother changing the belts. Went around there and then it came off again because I had to get around the other one. So it's still quite happy to jump. So that's another thing, if that belt, if there is tension, I guess this belt, the fact it can swing back, and that belt's slipping there, so I think we might have to put a new belt on this. Anyway, before we do, let's just actually try this out, see if anything changes. So yeah, the belt is definitely not, by the look of it, a great design the way it pulls on that thing. And that thing kind of relies on the belt, I think, to make those gears mesh together. Okay, what is this thing? Oh, it's just the eject or something. Do I even need? I can probably do it without the capstan belt, capstan bracket even going back on. That's what I'm thinking. If I'm careful here. So that's spinning away nicely. Oh, we're in play mode. And it's not noisy. And oh my god, I've got a heap of torque. Seriously? Oop. Set the fast forward, doesn't work. It just does rewind. Uh-oh. And now, oh, now we've got no... Oh, the bloody belt's come off. How the hell did you manage that, you little turd? Oh. Possibly because I haven't got the capstan mounted properly. That would do it. I don't know if this capstan's getting away from me. But no noises. And good torque. Like, I can't barely stop that, so you can hear the gear click a little bit if I really grab it. Try not to let that capstan... so now the capstan, I'd probably let it... No way. Even with an old belt in it. So maybe that was it. You telling me I just had to file that little bit of plastic? That's the sort of thing it is, though. Well, that'd be awesome if that's all it is. I'm going to put that back together before anything else goes wrong. Put that capstan bracket on. Give it a clean. And I think we'll try the same on the other deck. I mean, you shouldn't have to do that. Like, you shouldn't have to modify parts. But it is something you do find sometimes, that just some little thing is some little amount out. Even in the old days, if you ordered all the parts, replacement bits for that, there's no guarantee it would have fixed it. But it could be that, yeah, that gear is slightly worn. And putting a new gear on that one with the felt on it, the felt clutch, that might fix it. It might just be slightly gone or something, and replacing that part would fix it. It's the sort of thing, if you ever had a job like this, you'd often just order all the bits and just change a lot, because you could never be sure which bit was actually out. Or even better, you order a whole new tape deck if you can get one and just change the lot, I think. Because, you know, who needs that sort of hassle of little things that are out little amounts, and there's no way knowing what the tolerances are or the specs are or anything. I mean, you didn't engineer the thing, or you don't have access to new parts, or no service manual is going to tell you any of that sort of stuff. Oh, what the hell? What on earth is this plastic stuff over the erase head? Now I've seen it all. What? That lifts. Okay, well, this is a whole new mech. I've just realised this has got some weird erase head arrangement. What the? I don't need any more new stuff, thank you very much. But I will have to get a pinch roller potentially for the other mech, so this is where one of Wagner's little tiny ones might actually come in handy, if they still sell ones that small. I think most of the small ones used to have that little plastic moulded pin through the middle sort of thing, but they may have a different type. But it is a very tiny mech, this one. Oh, there's little tiny screws everywhere. It's like, say, almost like a Walkman mech or something, and I do wonder whether this isn't out of a Sanyo Walkman. That would not surprise me to find that out. So if we hit, oh, I've got to hit record, I guess. Oh yeah, the erase head pops up through two weird little plastic. What on the earth? It's a normal mode, they don't even sit that well, but your tape is dragging across a couple of bits of plastic here. I've never seen that before either. No idea why you would have two little plastic flap things sitting up, that when you press the head it pushes them apart and they fall back behind it. There's our auto stop lever by the look of it. I think that might even work on that. I thought maybe that lever had something to do with it, but no, don't know. Oh, I'm not going to waste any more time on that. I'm just going to put that back together and hope like hell it keeps going. So I'll try it with a tape in it, I guess, is the ultimate test. There's not really much else I can do other than that anyway. It was going to be a matter of trying to file something back sooner or later. Because there's not much else you can do in this sort of scenario. Because I don't think we've even got any hope of getting parts anymore. I'd be very surprised if you could get parts for something this old. Even when it was 10 years old, I mean, they only had to keep them originally parts for 10 years by law, I think. And a lot of these Japanese companies were really excellent. Back in the day when they could actually make some money out of selling stuff and that, they had excellent spare parts backup and all the rest, and you could get things for 30-year-old parts or 30-year-old equipment, no problem. A lot of the time they were still available because they probably hadn't actually sold any of them, because this stuff was so reliable and so well built that they still had the part in stock anyway, I guess, because not because out of kindness or anything, but just they never sold the original ones. They had to keep in stock by law, so I guess they just kept them until they did sell them. Oh, now the other thing I better check before I go too far is what's going on with this record switch. Yeah, I'm above it, which I was before. That's my guess anyways, that a lot of the parts just never got used and they had them already in the inventory, I guess. I think Panasonic Australia supposedly had this big sort of like pick and place machine, the thing that could robotically move around through the factory shelving or whatever and find the exact part. It was more like a hopper system or something, I think, but somehow they could order a part and it would drop down a hopper or whatever, or end up somewhere without any human intervention sort of thing, which was pretty impressive. I seem to remember seeing some documentary on it or something. Okay, now I need to plug our heads back in and try and get those wires back where they belong. I'm probably going to have to take that board off to get everything tidied up. These wires have got to go back into there. And yeah, that head wire's meant to be up in that thing, I think. This head wire, where did that go? Oh, over into this thing, I think. Yeah, through and then through that hole, followed by this other wire through there somewhere and through there, I think. Yeah, that's it. Okay, well, let's try it with an actual tape. Now it's a little bit noisy again, of course. No! Don't you let me down now. Still nothing like it was. Oh no! No! It's doing the bloody tape! Ah, you son of a gun. Why? It's got plenty of take up. Does that seat in there correctly? That's doubtful. It's a bit noisier now. And we've got no audio. Oh, no speakers. Push that in place correctly. Oh. Interesting, it didn't start up again. No. Well, that's a fail. Although, what I might have done is not put that capstan back together. Now that I think of it, I might have done it up too tight or something, but hang on, that motor doesn't look in line with the... It's my imagination. I've put this mech back in. Oh no, I haven't. That's my stuff up, that is. What has happened here? Oh, how'd you come? Something to do with this other mech. Oh yeah, the wiring of the other mech's got jammed under that one. The things you don't even notice. I was going to say the motor looks bent up in it. The motor bracket's sticking up too high, and that's why, because it's sitting on top of this one. Gosh, you've got to be kidding me. I doubt it's permanently bent it was just pushing up because the wires were under it. Well, that's a bit of an anticlimax. You get everything hopefully right and you stuff it up. Okay, let's try again. Yeah, didn't even notice that. That's a bit slack. Easy enough to do that. Out of the way. Making a bit less noise now too. That's probably why it was a bit noisy. There must be something better. Still seems pretty bad. So I sit here in the evening. Ooh, stop. Cool, that stops easy. That's the belt slipping. My God, is it that slippery? Well, I should have changed that belt. Oh, God. Try and cheat and that's what you get. No, the belt definitely is slipping. It doesn't take much and then it just, you can see the motor spinning faster than the belt's going. Well, before I do anything with that, I'm going to try and fix this deck. I wonder if I should pull that up. I'm going to see if I can fix this deck the same way as the other one. That should be okay. Let's get all the pieces back together. Yep. That should be a go. Now I don't want to screw this in just yet because I've got to get the other one out to swap a belt over. Why won't you sit in there? What is wrong with this? That's right. It's just a bit fiddly, I think. Oh well, moment of truth, I guess. Still a tad noisy. That one may, I suspect it may need a little bit more cutting off than the other, but anyway, let's try it out. No, still stuffed. Then a big turkey shell knock me up. Amazing. This one refuses to be fixed. And when I woke up, it is better, I think, because it was making a noise. Yes, it's unlike the other one. The other one you can grab it and it doesn't do anything. So I did have the feeling it wasn't quite as good. And it looks like I'm correct, so I wonder if I sand a bit more off it. Because it's about the only thing left to do. I'm getting sick of pulling this thing to bits, I can tell you. But I don't want to put this thing back together unfixed if possible. But I'm starting to regret getting this. I thought it was a good buy for $10, but turned out it's a complete lemon of a thing. I mean, it'll still be a nice little boombox, but it's not going to really matter if it runs or not. At the end of the day, I don't really care that much, but it's always nice to fix a fault and find out what actually caused it. Oh, that spring's come off this time. Because I'm rushing a bit more. Let's try to take advantage. Up you little... Man, the hour just disappears doing this stuff. It just eats time. Amazing how much time you get through. I'm going to push that back together a little bit. It's still a bit tight, so I wonder if there is something else. Another issue here, but I doubt it. But that does need to be a bit looser. Could it be something here slipping? The problem with all this playing with this thing is it probably is making it a bit more prone to slip. What do I want? I want to file a bit more off maybe. I did get the right bit, didn't I? It's where that pivots and it comes down there and yeah, hits on there. The only other possibility is it just needs a bit more, because for whatever reason, just be careful not to file the gears off while you're filing this off, I guess. I'm just going to take that a bit more. I still haven't taken that much off, really. Oh, let's try it again. Press play. Press that in. If for some reason, I haven't dropped down, that would be the issue. Yeah, I think this one's got more issues. No, that's embedded rather well. Still does pop a bit, but yeah, I think there's more play in this reel on this one, and that's all it takes, is something like that to be out. If only I could turn this while holding the... Can I do it? Hold the reel. That seems alright. The reel's hasn't got lots of place. The other thing could be that this reel is tight. or even that little gear is tight. Does sound a tad tight. I wonder if they could add more tension, which adds more issues. Oh yeah, interesting. That one is idle in play mode. It makes a bit of noise. That doesn't make any, that's very free. That is tighter. So could it be that little gears adding? So it could be a combination of things. This is the kind of hassle you get. There's no way of sliding that gear out. I mean, one thing I can do is put a little bit of oil on it maybe. If I take that clip off. You can lift it up, but not, I don't think you can get past that other gear. But being able to lift it up is a good thing, I think. Can I get, oh I can. I'll put a bit of oil on that screwdriver and poke it under there, that might work. Well, certainly won't have to give it a bit of a lube on this one, but it does seem to be quite a bit more tension there than the other one. If I can get that oil down under there somewhere. Still a bit noisy. Is it freer? I'm not sure it is. I can also put a little dab of oil in the end of that. Well, there's a little, if I lift it up, there's a little hole there, that might get it down the metal shaft a bit. I'll put that up and down a couple of times. Still doesn't seem to have done much, but I'll remove the excess oil, I think. So that's a shame that hasn't really helped. That may have freed it up a little bit, that. Or am I imagining it? I guess the other thing could be to put a little bit of grease on there, so it might at least quieten it. Don't think it's made a lot of difference, but anyway. Let's put it all back together again. Fingers crossed it's the last time. Well, I think it's gonna be the last time, because if this doesn't fix it, I'm not sure that should scrape like that. It sounds like it's scraping on this. To be fair, I don't think, is it touching it? Scraping on this metal bit here. Is that just when it's across there? No, I don't think it's actually touching it, but where is it? Maybe it is a bit. Maybe that needs a little wash after that. Anything could be bent here to raise this whole assembly up a bit. Who knows? spring back on. Come here. Let's just get it on the one side again, I think, and as soon as you touch it, it lifts up there. Gotcha. Well, this has certainly been a time consumer. Not sure if I can call it a time waster, but I guess anything that uses lots of time is a waste of time in a way, but if I win, it's probably been worth it, but if I don't, yeah, then it's a waste of time. Does seem like it scrapes a little bit. So there could be a few different issues in this thing, but who knows? Just general wear and tear. Maybe this one's been used a lot. I mean, the heads don't look like they've been particularly used, and oh, damn, that screw just dropped somewhere, didn't it? There it is. I should have been keeping an eye on that because I'm concentrating on the spring end. Like I say, it may turn out it wasn't wasted, but I don't have too much hope at the moment since it's been causing a bit of issues. It's actually going in a miracle of miracles. Oh god. Oh, the thing was magnetised. Well, the screw sticks to it, doesn't mean it's magnetised, I guess. It just kind of sticks to it. Now it's sticking to something else. Lift, you little son of a... Yeah, it sticks on amazingly well for something that's not magnetised. Oh well, what's the bet? We haven't achieved anything. But we're going to try it. Get around there, you silly wire. Never lost it back together. Oh, that might have done it. Now I've got heaps of torque. So it looks like I had to file a bit more off. I didn't want to go too silly.
And saw what it has done.
Why did it do that though?
For I'll go no more waltzing Matilda.
Okay, enough of that. That actually sounds a little wowie still, I think, but that's not going too bad. Yeah, a bit in there. So who knows whether it's the motors or still something, maybe the loading put it on the capstan from those gears or something. It's still possible something is out there somewhere. But yeah, I can't stop that now, so it did just need a bit more taken off. Oh well, you live and learn. So there's no real precision to this because you're not really even sure what you're trying to fix here. So now I've got to find a belt for this mongrel. But I think I covered changing the belts in the other one, didn't I? So all that belt changing probably was worth it in the other one, even though I suspected I had wasted my time. It turns out I was going to have to change the belts. It'll just be interesting. I guess the final thing on this one is whether it works well with a new belt, because I think that's what's causing a bit of extra wow and stuff. I forget exactly how bad it was playing, but it wasn't real good, was it? from memory. So now I've put this head back in on this one, thinking I'd finish with it, and of course it's going to make me pull it to bits again. And I've got to get these wires out again. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this Sanyo, but maybe we can just... Which belt was that? That one mainly, the capstan, or from motor, sorry, to capstan, which I guess is technically what you'd call the capstan belt, since it goes to the capstan as its primary thing. So of course they've run everything else off the capstan. Probably not the world's greatest design. If you have any issues with the other bits, it's going to add to wow in the capstan, isn't it? Don't tell me there's some problem here. I think I've got to get this lever thing off. I might even replace the other one as well. See if those eBay belt kits, they should be full of little belts like that. You'd think have these exact type of belts, because I think I actually got these out of my other proper belts, as I like to call them. That one's probably a bit on the tight side maybe, but let's try it. But at least these are a bit finer than the other ones I had, I think. More like the original ones. Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, I think that's not tight at all, I don't think. So that's a good one. So we'll chuck that other one in the bin. Oh, yeah, that was the right one. Panicked for a minute. I thought I'd taken the other one out as well, but I haven't. So this... Oh, that head wire's getting annoying. I might have to get it loose. I think I ought to take this thing off. Does that just somehow... Well, I'm doing something to it. I hope there's no springs on it or anything. And I better clean the pulley. Should have done that on the others too, can I think of it? But anyway. Too bad. Yeah, a bit of dirt coming off it. And where does it go on the plastic on the back of the capstan? Yeah, that's got quite a bit of black stuff on it, so that's probably a sign that belt's getting a bit worn. Didn't get all of it, but it's only right down in the depths, I think. 33, 37, 40, 22, 46. Ooh, that's getting there. Oh, don't tell me that's too big. No, that's actually damn close. I think 46, 49, and 51. So it's got to be one of them. .49, I think, is actually too big. Just in that 3mm change, it's got to be a 46. Okay, so I put a new belt into the other deck here. It was a, what was it in the end, a 46 by 1.2 I defined for that. Didn't have any of my eBay belt kit. And that fitted pretty much perfectly. And it has improved things. Let's get this thing running. It did still grate once, I think, but... Oh, maybe not. There it goes. Seems to grate a little bit and then come right. Okay, enough of that. Still got a fair bit of wow. But yeah, sometimes it still seems to grate a little bit and then it comes right. So it's a bit of a weird one. Oh, that one's not too happy. So possibly it's because the tape's not sitting correct, or maybe it's something to do with this tape. It's got some funny lumpy bits in it. Let's try a different one. Use my usual tape. That seems okay. Yes, there's still a little bit of grating there. the only other thing I probably need to check is the speed. Does this have external outputs? Probably not. I can hook to the speakers, I guess. Check the speed and the azimuth. I think the azimuth sounds better on that deck than this one. I think that sounds pretty good. Yeah, I think speed and azimuth are pretty good on that. So this thing can probably be put back together and see how it goes, I guess. But it sounds like it might still be wanting to grate the gears a bit occasionally. Chances are I won't even use this thing. And the other thing I need to do is clean up all these knobs. And I sort of did the tape deck, but not 100% on the buttons, so I might just give them a little bit more. Maybe they need a polish. If I can get the tops of them clean. I think some of that's actual damage. It's missing silver, as is usually the case. Scratches and bits and pieces. But these things need doing as well. They are quite corroded by the look of it. But it looks like a fair bit of it's going to come off. Anything's going to be better than what we've got at the moment. But yeah, I think a light polish may even be necessary to get these looking good. I'm not sure how much of this shows through the top. It's not going to come off. That might even be good enough. Certainly a lot better than they were. So this one's got a lot of corrosion-y stuff on it. I think that might have actually eaten through the silver coating. So it'd be nice if I can get this thing back together. The question is, which way did it go back together? Since it's so long since I pulled it apart, I can't actually remember. Do we sit the front into there? Possibly. Yeah, it'd have to go in there, I think. Like so. Put our speakers back in. And the other problem is, I've got to find what I did with the screws out of this thing. Yeah, that's looking quite nice. Oops. Oh, got it out of whack. Yeah, and there's another problem. Why don't the doors shut yet? I'd say something's not sitting in there deep enough yet. That should sit on there. Oh yeah, that's definitely not sitting in place. That should sit over there. You'd think that would fit up in there, but it doesn't. Yeah, now I've got doors shutting. Oh yeah, the power connector does actually unplug out of there. So, I think we just put the antenna in. And this thing goes back together, basically. Oh, that would be nice. Oh, we've still got all these dirty screw holes need cleaning. I'll just give them a clean up. We've got wasp clay and stuff in the screw holes. And the battery thing is not the best. God, they're messy little so-and-sos, those wasps. Use a cotton rod to get rid of the rest of that. And hopefully we end up with quite a nice looking little boombox at the end of this. And a reasonably functional one, though maybe not perfect. Ah, the dirt. Damn wasps. It's one of the biggest hazards of having your boombox in a shed, I think, is that wasps will get in and do this. But I'd say this has been in some sort of outbuilding, not likely to be someone's house if it's full of that. Now, where did I put all the bits out of this thing? That is my next big issue here. Okay, found all my bits and pieces for it. So it looks like there's a few chassis screws here to go back in. There's 4 of them. Now, I guess just got to make sure they don't match up with the holes for the cabinet. So there's one there as well. That's 2 of them. So cabinet, 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 cabinet. Okay, no, that's a cabinet one. So where the hell did the other 2 go? I don't see any more holes. I don't seem to have any other holes to put those in. That is definitely that one, isn't it? That one, that one, that one. I can't see a single other hole on this thing. No. Yeah. Well, maybe I'm missing something here. Must be. Put these wires back in. And get them away from that switch. Well, that's the problem with leaving something a couple of months or whatever it was between times that you work on it, is you tend to forget where some of the screws and stuff go. Very odd. They're usually pretty obvious though. Did I plug that antenna back on? I honestly can't remember. I was going to. Did I actually do it? I hate that. I can't remember. Come on, off you come back. No, I didn't by the look of it. I always forget at the last second. What is this thing? There's something here catching. Don't know. I won't catch now because I chucked it away. Yeah, that's better. Whatever that little red bit of cardboardy stuff was catching on something. And the antenna still needs a clean and under the handles, but the rest of it's all pretty good, I think. What is going on here? Oh, there we go. As long as it's not a wire blocking it or something. Let's get the rest of it back together. Oh, actually, maybe those screws go in the back here. Because I don't think we have enough for the back, so if we put one out... Yeah, I reckon they must have gone in... Maybe that screw I just put in was too long. It hasn't come out the front, has it? I mean, it seems to fit in there. I'm not sure a shorter one will fit in there. Yeah, it's definitely down lower though. Yeah, can I get it back out again? So maybe they just go in the back, and I'm guessing the battery. I was wondering whether they wouldn't show up at the end. Yeah, that does bite in there by the look of it. So that other screw probably hadn't reached the bottom of the hole sort of thing, and now these knobs probably need to clean too. Oh, and there's a big tuning knob. Oh, nice to see it back together. Looks a lot better than it did, but it's still a bit rough. A few scratches and stuff. It's quite a nice little boombox, that one. As far as aesthetics go, and yeah, from a distance I don't think it'll look too bad. If you sort of start looking at it up close, you notice a few little defects. Might even need to put a bit of polish on these. Ideally, I think it would have a bit. It's been somewhere a bit exposed to the elements, I think. Probably more than just dirt getting on it. Somewhere a bit damp and stuff. And that's it, it's all back together finally. Yeah, that's rather corroded. And I should try and shove some, maybe I'll just use a cotton bud down in there to try and clean out the bits under the handle there. Ideally you'd probably remove the handle. Well, actually I could have probably done it, I guess, while I had the handle, because that was part of the front of the unit, I think, so I probably should have cleaned under there before I put the back on, but that gets rid of the worst of it. Let's see what it behaves like. I suspect it might still be a bit crunchy in the gears. Get rid of that old belt.
Jeeves and One Stop has new trading hours. Now open from 9 AM to 8 PM daily. Is fully licensed, supplying Tassie beer, wine and cider. Try our delicious homemade pizza, Turkish bidet, doner kebabs, steak.
Dark and it's cold, everyone's
Tuesday nights on ABC TV and streaming on ABC iView.
So radio still seems to all be functional. The eject works, that's a good start. Whoop. Yeah, a bit of noise at the beginning. Pause works. One of these, I think it was that deck, needed a new pinch roller as well, ideally. Q review thing. Guess we could try recording a bit even.
turning west to northwesterly 30 to 45 kilometres an hour in the late morning and afternoon. And let's go
making
to
some electrical noise as well.
Hobart and see what's happening up there. 14 for today, 40% chance of rain, and winds northwesterly 15 to 20 kilometres an hour, becoming light in the late afternoon. And Hobart and see what's happening up there. 14 for today, 40% chance, and winds 14 kilometre afternoon. And let's go to
That seems to make a bit of noise in the radio.
update.
Yeah, when I hit record.
Up until midnight tonight,
It does, some electrical noise
winds,
there.
about 10 knots. Seas
I'm
below
meant to press record.
0.5
I probably
metres,
should press
slightly
record.
cloudy.
No, it's doing it
Tomorrow,
again.
northerly winds 10 to 15 knots, increasing to 20 knots before turning westerly,
Yeah,
10
great.
to 15 knots in the late evening. Seas below a metre and 70% chance of showers. For Storm Bay boating forecast up until midnight.
So we've got some sort of electrical noise coming from when I put that tape deck into record. It may be doing it in play as well, but you won't know because I guess we could run the radio.
Saturday the 8th
Oh yeah,
of
it does it
July.
in play.
Northerly winds 15 to 20 knots, turning west to northwesterly in the afternoon. Seas around a metre, partly
So the motor's a bit noisy or something.
evening. Seas turning sea 5 metres. Northerly winds 10 to 15 knots, increasing before turning.
A little bit of noise there.
Evening.
But yeah, the cassette deck, I think when you first put the tape in, is going a little bit crunchy, and then it's right.
Below a metre and 70% chance of showers.
Come on. Doesn't sound too bad. Not too wowy. Certainly not the most awesome sounding deck on earth, and definitely not worth the amount of time I put into it, I don't think. But it's kind of more a case of seeing if we can actually get some of this stuff going, more for the sake of it than anything else. Even when, yeah, it probably could have done with some new gears in this one, but it goes to show with a bit of modification you can kind of get it working pretty good. Now whether each time those gears sort of don't mesh properly, it's actually wearing them down even more, that's possible, so it may not last long, but if you're just using it occasionally, it'll probably be fine for a while. Oh, that came up a heap better with a bit of a clean, or a bit of a polish I should say. Where's a cotton bud? I might just, there's one, put a bit of polish on these knobs. I thought they'd be okay, but it's kind of a bit too rough for my liking. I can just take the worst of those little spots off it. And I'm not sure they're all going to go because they're probably eaten through it. But it is taking some of it off. That one definitely not coming any good. I think they're through to the plastic underneath. A couple of these could probably do with the faces. Yeah, let's take a little bit off. Just the bits you see is all that really matters. Yeah, it's made a slight improvement, I think. I'll wipe all that off. See what it looks like. Yeah, they're a bit shinier than they were. Let's see if I can get it off these without spreading it everywhere. Those, yeah, marginally better I think, but they're still pretty bad. Those knobs are a bit beyond it I think. How do I get it all up there? So certainly not mint condition, but yeah, that antenna looks a million times better than it did. Front of these buttons certainly looks better. Almost back to it being nice and shiny without any little dots. There's just a few. And yeah, that knob's a bit beyond it. Yeah, they're all, it's actually just taken the green stuff off and gone through to the plastic underneath, so this didn't have the best quality paint on the chromed bits, and a few scratches on the door, but I mean it's quite a nice looking little box, especially with those speakers cleaned up now, the rust gone off those speaker grills which just made it look terrible. So it'll make a good display piece, and yeah, a lot of work to try and, I'll give the underside a clean too, a lot of work to try and get the, if it'll come off, to get the mech going, and it is still not quite perfect, but at least they're running now, which is more than they did before. So that's another one on the pile, and dig out the next one I guess. Thanks for watching.